Kash Patel's FBI uncovers apparent Chinese communist plot to rig the 2020 mail-in vote for Biden. Welcome. How we doing today? Hope y'all are doing awesome. That's what we're going to talk about today. This is going to be fun. Stay tuned. All right, so we've all heard about the January 6th deal. That's obviously everybody's heard about that. But they kind of like threw a lot of the stuff under the rug. There was, where Pelosi, we have a video of Pelosi where she was talking about she called off the National Guard, and we got all that. But we got some new evidence came out because since Kash Patel's been in office, or in his position, not really office, well, kind of an office, but since he's been put in position, he's been going through and digging up a lot of beef on some people, a lot of juicy, and he declassified some information today that we need to investigate a little bit. And questions come up: why wasn't this investigated before? Why wasn't? Well, obviously, we know why, but it's all the whole reason why Trump's protest was even there. Why January 6th insurrection, mostly peaceful protest, as some of us would say, and it's World War III, as others would say. I mean, there's those two extremes of what happened on January 6th of 21. But anyway, regardless, the reason why that protest happened was because Trump thought that the election was rigged and that it was stolen from him. But let's read on. And this article doesn't come right out and say that, yes, this happened. But let's read on and see. And this article comes from The Blaze. So it's, take that with what you will. Some of you like The Blaze, some of you don't like The Blaze, but it's where I got it from. I get some of my articles from Fox. I get some of my articles from CNN. I read articles from everywhere. But this one's just The Blaze. But I read it all. I read everything from both sides. So it's, take it what you will. So this time I'm reporting from The Blaze. But anyway, enough of that. The intelligence community appeared keen on downplaying the Chinese election interference when it meant helping Biden. Let's see what. In a New York Times Magazine interview published on June 1st, 2020, then Attorney General Bill Barr acknowledged that the Department of Justice was concerned that there was a number of foreign countries that could easily make counterfeit ballots, put names on them, and send them in. Just like with what Hillary Clinton said Trump did, the Russian collusion and all that. Yeah, see, it's okay for one person to do it, but not for the other. See, that's what a lot of it is, and a lot of us are hypocrite, when we do something, but somebody else does it, it's not good. And, I mean, the Dems are way bad about this. It's okay for their party to do it, but when the other party does it, that's pure evil. But anyway, reading on. Weeks later, President Donald Trump tweeted, this is back before he got kicked off of Twitter, and while it was still Twitter, rigged 2020 election, millions of mail-in ballots will be printed by foreign countries and others. It will be the scandal of our times. Sorry, I can't do the Trump voice that well, but I tried. I didn't try. That's why I didn't try. Election officials, Democrats, and the liberal media were quick to suggest that such claims were just unfounded. They were preposterous. Like the American liberal establishment, these strategic dismissals have not aged well. FBI Director Kash Patel announced Monday that the Bureau located intelligence reports from August 2020 that detailed alarming allegations regarding an apparent Chinese communist plot to interfere in the presidential election for the benefit of then-candidate Joe Biden. allegations. Kash Patel announced Monday that the Bureau located intelligence reports from August 2020 detailing alarming allegations regarding an apparent Chinese communist plot. So, I mean, nothing's like set in stone, and this doesn't like prove anything. This is just some more information and evidence that they found. Doesn't necessarily mean that anything happened. Apparently, it was just a plot, too. Like maybe it got stopped ahead of time and or whatever. But I mean, regardless, it was they found some information, and he declassified it so that it can be out. Nearly as damning as the allegation was, their alleged cover-up by elements of the intelligence community ahead of the election. Nearly as damning as the allegations was their alleged cover-up by elements of the intelligence community ahead of the election. Had to read that one twice. Patel told Just the News that the newly declassified documents include allegations of plans from the Chinese Communist Party to manufacture fake driver's licenses and ship them to the United States for the purpose of facilitating fraudulent mail-in ballots. Allegations which, while substantiated, were abruptly recalled and never disclosed to the public. So obviously it's good. They're going to cover it up because the FBI didn't do anything about it. They didn't say anything. It took 4 years to finally come out, 5 years before this information actually came out. But at least it's coming out and we're starting to hear about it, because now that kind of leads more questions and maybe some more investigation that maybe it was, maybe, I know some of you might agree and some of you won't agree, but maybe the election was stolen. U.S. Customs and Border Protection announced on July 27th, 2020, that between January 1 and June 30th of that election year, CBP officers at the International Mail Facility at Chicago O'Hare International Airport had seized 1,513 shipments containing fraudulent documents, including 19,888 counterfeit U.S. driver's licenses. Nearly 20,000 counterfeit U.S. driver's licenses were seized. The majority of these shipments were arriving from China and Hong Kong, with other seized shipments arriving from Great Britain and South Korea, noted the CBP. The licenses were mostly intended for college-age students across various states. In many cases, the barcode attached to the licenses actually worked. It's unclear whether some of the hundreds of thousands of Chinese students at universities across the country, some of the nearly 400,000 Chinese illegal aliens, were intended recipients. So hold on a second here. So the barcodes actually worked, they say. How did that happen? Somebody working from the inside on this one? You know, somebody from our country on our side that has access to these barcodes? Because how's China going to get a hold of these barcodes that actually work? Did they have help? Or was somebody else in on it? These fraudulent identification documents can lead to identity theft, worksite enforcement, critical infrastructure protection, fraud linked to immigration-related crimes such as human smuggling, human trafficking, and these documents can be used by those individuals associated with terrorism to minimize scrutiny from travel screening measures, added the CBP. Yeah, I mean, you could be anybody. If you get one of these fake IDs, you all of a sudden especially if a barcode works. Interesting. So you go to a place with a fake ID and they scan the back of it and off you go. Doesn't matter who you are, what you do. Kind of scary. and that's been since 2020, probably longer than that, but just kind of makes you think who else was in on this, because I don't think it was just China. I don't think China was the only one that did that. Like I said, how did they get a hold of those barcodes? Officials who have seen the newly declassified documents told Just the News that a confidential source provided by the FBI with information in summer of 2020 indicated that the Chinese Communist regime was mass producing fake American driver's licenses in order to create voter identities for Chinese nationals so that they could vote with fake mail-in ballots. See, I was awake when all that happened. I was awake, and it was, it was Wisconsin, I believe, and Trump was barely ahead, or Biden was barely ahead. It was like neck and neck, and then all of a sudden at like 2 a.m. or something, all of a sudden Trump stayed here, and Biden got jumped like 200,000 votes, just like pew, that quick, like within a snap of a finger. I looked over, and Biden has like 250,000 more votes now, and Trump stayed the same. Kind of threw a red flag to me, but it is what it is. But just saying, I mean, what else have the Democrats been covering up? They covered up Joe Biden's health. Now they're covering this up. And an intelligence official indicated that despite the gravity of the allegations, the intel report was recalled after just a few weeks, and the allegations never fully explored. See, when this came up, they just like, whatever, forget about it. No biggie. No biggie. Yeah, that's kind of what they're acting like. So they're either in on it or, shh, don't tell anybody, because that helps us, and we don't want to, But anyway, the reason given was that the confidential source needed to be re-interviewed. However, it appears politics may have informed the decision. Well, of course, politics informed the decision. That was that's pretty obvious. The intelligence community's then analytic ombudsman, I don't know how you pronounce that, but Barry Zuloff indicated in a report on a number of election security intelligence issues that, quote, China analyst appeared hesitant to assess Chinese actions as undue influence or interference. These analysts appeared reluctant to have their analysis on China brought forward because they intended to disagree with Trump administration's policies, saying, in effect, I don't want our intelligence used to support those policies. Yeah, they didn't agree with Trump, so let's hide it because it doesn't align with Trump, and it kind of aligns with what he's trying to accuse us of. So we better put a stop to that one. On January 7th, 2021, in a January 7th, 2021 memo, then DNI and current CIA Director John Ratcliffe directed the attention of senators on the Select Committee on Intelligence to how the ombudsman found that CIA management took actions pursuing an analyst to withdraw their support from the alternative viewpoint on China in an attempt to suppress it. This was seen by National Intelligence Officer as politicization. These are some words. And I agree. Yes, it was politicized. And of course they want to suppress it because, again, it helped Biden win. Or it could have potentially helped Biden win. Whether it did or didn't, it could have definitely helped Biden win. And it's like, so this information just never got out. So now we have more evidence to back up our claim that Biden stole the election. I mean, it's not proven. Like I said, it's not proven, and it's not like, it's just more evidence that shows that could be rather likely. Ratcliffe went on to defend Christopher Porter, the former National Intelligence Officer for Cyber at the National Intelligence Council, who led the U.S. intelligence community's analysis of threats to American elections, for refusing to back down from flagging the threat of Chinese election interference, contrary to the supposed majority view. Porter apparently maintained that China took at least some steps to undermine former President Trump's re-election chances. Porter, who expressed his gratitude on Tuesday that Patel is standing up for the truth senior intelligence community leaders conspired to hide, claimed that the CIA and senior leadership at the Office of the Directors of National Intelligence harassed him and drove him out of the building when he said that China had interfered in 2020. Forcing him out of the office because he said something, because he knew something, because he was lucky that's all they did. Just put it like that. He's lucky that's all they did was throw him out of the office. Just remember, it wasn't an oversight. It was a deliberate effort by the intelligence community to hide these facts from the public so President Trump couldn't defend his campaign for re-election, added Porter. It sounds believable to me, and it's like I said, it was, and I don't know if this was the case, this particular case, but in 2020, when all those ballots came in, it threw me a red flag. It threw me through a loop. I was like, wait a second, what just happened? That's not right. That ain't cool. So I even before this came out, I get the fact that he was questioning whether or not it was stolen from him, because there was a lot of weirdness going on that night. The ombudsman took pains to explain that due to varying collection and insight into hostile state actors, leadership intentions, and domestic election influence campaigns, the definitional use of the term influence and interference and associated confidence levels are applied differently by the China and Russia analytic communities. Due to varying collection and insight into hostile state actors, leadership intentions, and domestic election influence campaigns, the definitional use of the terms influence and interference and associated confidence levels are applied differently by China and Russia analytic communities. So is that why they didn't? Because, well, it could mean something different for Russia. Maybe they're not interfering because their definition of interference is different than ours. I see. Makes perfect sense. Zulauf Zoloff. We'll call him Zoloff. How's that? Suggested further that the difference in application of these analytic terms led to differences in the volume, frequency, and confidence level of the intelligence coming from the China and Russia analytic communities, though they were very similar in their potential effect. Yeah, this doesn't like they were hiding it. I mean, it's clear they were hiding it. There's no question about it. They were like, don't tell. It's, don't let this come out. Let's hide it. They were hiding anything and everything they possibly could. In his report, Zoloff found that there were attempts to politicize intelligence. Yeah, I believe that. That's pretty obvious. Zoloff referred to several examples, the most egregious of which was delivered by National Counterintelligence and Security Center Director Bill Evanina on March 10th, 2020. Evanina delivered remarks that were construed as the opinion of the IC, yet analysts called introductory statement and talking points as gross misinterpretation of the IC's new views. They always use those kind of terms, misinformation or misinterpretation or misinterpret. How can you misinterpret fake IDs coming in from China that are actually legit IDs? How can you misinterpret that around the time of an election? How can you misinterpret that? Oh, they're nothing. They're just don't worry about it. Just don't worry about it. Nothing to see here. The ombudsman also highlighted what appeared to be politically motivated editing of a May 2020 National Intelligence Council memo in what he described as one example of the overall pattern of perceived politicization. Perceived. The overall pattern of perceived politicization. Then National Intelligence Chair Christopher Colm, who later ended up on Biden's Presidential Transition Agency review team, crafted the language of the memo, which reportedly led with intelligence gaps that buried the lead regarding what the IC does know about election security threats. So they buried all the leads. I mean, they're clearly hiding it. It's another cover up, another scandal. This Biden administration was nothing but scandals. Nothing but cover-ups, nothing but hoaxes, it was a joke. I mean, it was a joke, and that was 4 years we'll never get back. Hopefully we can at least recover from that 4 years, and we're doing a good job so far. The result was a final product whose displayed publication meant it diverged sharply from the up-to-date IC view communicated in other product lines, wrote Zoloff. I have email exchanges to document this delay. Allusions to political repercussions and frustration from the intelligence professionals with the delay. NIC officials pointed to ODNI senior officials as intervening in the changes to collusion, saying that they were overly sensitive to political customers who saw the dissonance between China and Russia, reporting the inconsistent application of definitions, added Zoloff. What does it matter what the definition is? I mean, it all meant the same thing, okay? It's just because of the language that they used in the document. It appears this narrative curation ultimately proved successful. In March 2021, the National Intelligence Council released an assessment report stating with high confidence that China did not deploy interference efforts and considered but did not deploy influence efforts intended to change the outcome of the U.S. presidential election. China did not deploy interference efforts and considered but did not deploy influence efforts to change the outcome. So it says they did not deploy interference efforts, and they considered but did not deploy influence efforts. So like I said, nothing here has been proven. It's just more evidence. The report noted further that the intelligence community had no indication that any foreign actor attempted to alter the technical aspect of the voting process in 2020 U.S. election, including voter registration, casting ballots, vote tabulation, or reporting results. Patel told Just the News he declassified the Intel documents pertaining to the August 2020 Intel report and provided them to Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Chuck Grassley, Republican of Iowa, for further review. So they're still reviewing them. They're going to review them some more, and that's a good thing. We need to know about this. But the news of the documents' location and declassification was well received by a number of Republican lawmakers, including Representative Anna Paulina Luna of Florida, who stated, "America needs to wake up. Trump is not the enemy. It's the CCP." Mike Howell, president of the Oversight Project, suggested to Blaze News that a limited disclosure to Congress is not sufficient. They're the Federal Bureau of Investigation, continued Howell. They should be investigating and getting this ready for prosecution. The Blaze reached out to the ODNI and the White House, but did not immediately receive responses. When pressed for comments, the FBI referred Blaze News to Patel's post on X. Okay, well, and that's the article. So just more evidence, just showing that showing more scandals from the Biden, and showing that there still is that possibility, and this could reopen that case. You know, everybody keeps saying, "Oh, it's been debunked. It's been debunked. It's been proven." Well, here's some more evidence to go by. And who's behind it? I don't think it's just China, and I don't think it's just Russia. It's, how are they getting a hold of this information? How are they getting a hold of these people, where they live, how do they get these actually working barcodes on the back of driver's licenses? And what were their actual intentions? If they weren't to interfere with our elections, what were their intentions for? Sleeper cells? Make people legal? Make people so that they can commit crimes under their old identity, and now they have a new identity? I don't know, but it just opens up another door for investigation. But anyway, that's the video for today. World's getting crazy out there. If you haven't noticed, there's lots of craziness going on out there with all these protests, and I don't think they're going to get any better. I think as long as Trump's in office, they're going to continue. And we got to be ready. We got to be alert. Keep your head on a swivel. Stay vigilant. Stay aware of your surroundings. Always stay strapped with whatever's the most legal thing you can carry. If all you can carry is pepper spray, carry pepper spray. Whatever you can legally carry to protect yourself, carry it. Because, like I said, the world's getting crazy. Links below if you feel like helping out the channel, helping out other channels that I'm doing. If not, subscribe, like, share, comment. You know the YouTube drill stuff. Anyway, appreciate y'all. Love you. See you in the next one.